For the longest time, I have often said that the world would be a better place if humanity just accepted the fact that mutants are not going anywhere. I think the Marvel Comics universe would just be that much better if humanity just said, yeah, these mutants, I mean mutants, they're not going anywhere. And you know what? Maybe we should just open up our doors. Maybe we should open up our cities, open up our arms to let them in. And now, for, at the very least, the second time ever in America, mutant kind finally has a home. And it's in New Orleans. But is that a good thing?
You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It is your boy Ernie, the Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we are going to be talking about Uncanny X-Men, technically number 18 and 19. I'm going to be kind of dancing around some stuff that's going on in both of those issues. Really, the primary thing being that mutant kind has seemingly been welcomed with open arms into the greater Louisiana community, I guess. It's difficult to say. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop on this because something just doesn't feel right about it. The vibes aren't really vibing, especially when you consider a lot of the things that have been going on lately. But I'm willing to give humanity an opportunity to prove that I'm wrong. Because, yeah, it's one of those things, you can't change hearts and minds overnight. You just can't. And right now, it seems like the leadership of Louisiana is trying to throw mutant kind a bone. But I don't know if it's the right one. Once again, I want to just put it out here. This isn't, and I know some people might feel like this might be, oh, this is a first time ever. It's really not. We've seen this before. But it is being done in a somewhat more unique way than the last time we saw it. The previous issue, we had what was effectively a follow-up to the whole Murder Me Mutina deal, which, I'm not gonna lie, it didn't really hit, at least the Mutina part of it didn't really hit the way I was hoping for, because it kind of seemed like the previous issue was setting up for a throwdown between Wolverine and Mutina, but apparently that was not really the case. Mutina just kind of moved on and started messing with Calico. One thing we saw in the previous issue that is not really Mutina related, I mean it kind of is, but kind of isn't at the same time, is that we found out about the Friendship Fest. Now, the Friendship Fest was basically going to be what is effectively a fair, a festival situation to allow people to get the mutant experience. I wasn't really sure what to think about it because people were cosplaying as mutants. It was kind of weird. Like, it was one of those deals where, like, and I don't expect a lot of people to understand this if you're not black, brown, or another person of color, but it felt like those moments where, like, in the past, where, like, if I had, like, some white friends that wanted to make me feel more, like, comfortable or included in something, they would do things or set things up, like, assuming, like, oh, well, he's black, and black people like this, and they like that, and they do this, and black people do that. And it was that whole vibe, and I feel like in some instances it was treated like more of a circus than it was actually being helpful to mutants. Now, that being said, it's cool. I mean, yeah, we see lots of people dressed up. We see people dressed up like Storm and Bishop and Manifold and Colossus and Sunfire and Cyclops and Jean Grey. We see all of the greatest hits. But the thing is, yeah, it's something about it feels off. That was the precursor to what comes next with the Uncanny Village. But before I even get into the Uncanny Village, the reason why the Uncanny Village is even happening is because Mackenzie Denier, who is the young woman, mother of two, that Nightcrawler helped save her children early on, like kind of in and around right at the beginning, almost like into the raid on Greymalkin. She spoke with the local body politic, more specifically Mayor Sapora, about being more inclusive to mutants. And that's kind of why you have the festival, you have the circus, and now you have the Uncanny Village. But all of this, it feels performative because it's even kind of hinted at in some dialogue, not like directly stated, but like I said, just it seemed kind of hinted that even Mayor Zipporah was kind of like, yeah, I wasn't really on board at first, but yeah, she made a strong case for it. And we see what this is, like basically what they're doing is they're giving this portion of New Orleans over to, I don't say like necessarily just giving it to the X-Men, but like basically making it a safe harbor, a place to celebrate and support mutants. And there's big X in the middle of it. And I think all the X-Men, they are right to feel the way they feel about any of it. There's some of them that are kind of like, what is this? What are we doing here? And we see one, there's like a place that's gonna be called Nightcrawlers. It's gonna be some kind of a bouncy house kids like fun zone type of place. They bring up Nightcrawlers teleporting trampolines. How that works, I have no idea. We also see Jubilee's gonna have a place called Jubilee's Jumpin' Jive, which is yet another thing altogether that seems kind of strange and unusual. And then also there's even something that's hinted at for the couple of the group, Gambit and Rogue, but we don't really get to go into that on any major level. But the reason why a lot of this is being fast-tracked and moved forward is because the mutants have been helping out the people of New Orleans quite a bit. I mean, maybe not as much as they've been dealing with their own stuff, but they have been saving lives. We even saw in the previous issue that the Vig, who we saw was like a bad guy, technically Quoty Finger's bad guy, just a few issues prior, he shows back up and he helps the X-Men save a burning hospital that's been set on fire and people literally were going to die. At some point while the festival was going on, the Friends of Humanity dived in and set this whole thing up. But the X-Men, they show up and they're able to take care of business, and not even just, the Uncanny X-Men, but even the Alaskan X-Men, and even some people who are not on the Alaskan X-Men team. We see a bunch of different characters show up. We see Outlaw and Angel and Strong Guy, just to name a couple of some of the other mutants who pull up, and they're all able to put their power and their energy together to help save all these people. So yeah, it's basically them showing their work, that they have value, that they can be of substance and use to society, and society is responding in kind. But I'm gonna tell you why I have a little bit of an issue with what's going on here. First and foremost, let's break it down like this. What are the reasons why this whole Uncanny Village thing, why is it awesome? Maybe why it's not awesome. Well, let's start with one. First off, it's giving people a chance to support mutants. It's safe to say that this is a place that is gonna, well, for one, create jobs, but it's also gonna maybe potentially create jobs for mutants. Also, at the same time, giving mutants a place of safety. That's a good thing. I think that's a great thing. But I also feel like it makes mutants even more of a target at the same time. That's a one in the not awesome column. Who, after reading the previous issue, is gonna see that the Festival of Friendship, the way that it went, it was literally just a distraction. Not saying it was made as a distraction, but the Friends of Humanity used it as a distraction to go burn down a building to paint a narrative, because it doesn't matter how you slice it. You can say, well, no, the mutants, they weren't even there. They were at the Friendship Festival. Yeah, but everybody else was at the Friendship Festival, whatever, and not paying attention to this burning building over here. Why? Because of the mutants. And I know some people would be like, oh, no, that's a leap in logic. Nobody would think that. Dude, watch the news. Watch the news and tell me there's no valid reason to think that people would think that way. The news does it all the time. You're always distracted. They always come up with some kind of BS thing to keep you from thinking about the thing they don't want you thinking about. And the orders all come from on high. I think I heard somebody make a joke the other day about the Washington Post. They called it the Bezos Post. Because Jeff Bezos owns it. And if he says he wants something pushed through as a story, he can have it pushed through. Doesn't matter if it's true or right. Rupert Murdoch, same thing with Fox News. If Rupert Murdoch says, and by the way, for those who don't know, Rupert Murdoch, literally the guy that Succession, the HBO series Succession, is based on.
Time to change. Our safety briefing.
The safety briefing? Well, here's the safety briefing. If you move against me, I'll put a hole in the back of your fucking head.
If that guy says, I want this pushed through, guess what gets pushed through? I want you guys to stop talking about this. Talk about that instead, because I don't want you drawing any attention over here. It's a thing. So anyway, back to comics. This normalizes mutants, I think, in a lot of respects. I think that's a good thing, because I feel like mutants are too mystified to normies. And you know what? We're gonna kind of dive into some outside of comic shit, but you can say the same thing for stuff that happens in real life. I feel it probably feels like I'm picking on white people this week. I'm really not. If you are a white person who has not spent any time whatsoever around non-white people, you have no frame of reference, you only know what you see on TV, or what your family tells you.
I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could. Best president in my lifetime, hands down.
Probably gonna take you some time to get used to being around non-white people. You know, when people were talking about integration, school integration, go back and look at some of those pictures from when black people first started going to schools with white people. Didn't go over very well. A lot of people were angry. And don't act like it was so long ago that all those people are dead. Some of those people are still very much alive. Wasn't that long ago, so let's not pretend. So yeah, I think that, yeah, while it might normalize mutants, it could also backfire in that respect, because, you know, while you're normalizing mutants, what you're doing could be seen as trivializing mutants. Walking around dressing up like them, wearing their experience and conveniently being able to take it off, I could see that as being problematic. You don't really see anybody give any opinions one way or the other, really. Not in any strong direction. Some people do seem to not be terribly okay with it. Jubilee probably being one of the more vocal ones. But yeah, it's giving oppression tourism, to me, is what it gives. And I think that's by design. I think Gail did this on purpose. You know, I think she did this on purpose to make that point. Maybe. I could be wrong. Other thing is, it does make the mutant experience accessible. However, no mutant asked for this. I think that's something we need to talk about. Who asked for it? A human. Mackenzie Denier. She was the one. Her and Mayor's support, they were the ones who are asking for this. They're not mutants that we know of. Mackenzie seems to be just a straight up human. Mayor Sapporo does not seem to express any ideas about being a mutant whatsoever, so the assumption is human. So yeah, it's one of those deals where, once again, you got people like, hey, we're gonna do something to make black people feel comfortable. We're gonna do something to make Mexican people feel comfortable. We're gonna do something to make Asian people feel comfortable. But you are not of that diaspora, so you're offering these things, and you're gonna be trying to do it with the most sincerest of sincerity, and you're probably not gonna succeed.
Oh, stewardess, I speak jive.
Oh, good.
Just hang loose, Blood. She gonna catch up on the rebound on the med side.
What it is, Big Mama? My mama raised no dummies. I duck a rap.
Cut me some slack, Jack.
Not 100%. Because who's involved? Did you involve any mutants in this? Were any mutants consulted on any of this stuff? I don't think so. But I do want to say, it's not all doom and gloom and commentary. Though, I mean, in some cases it kind of is. But I think that's fine, because we see some really cool stuff in, I think, probably more issue 19 than 18. Not to say that 18 doesn't have anything cool happening. I mean, it does. I mean, literally, burning building, mutants working together to save people. Great thing. Awesome thing. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of a follow-up to Mutina than what we actually got. But then you get to this issue, I feel like this one really does something really neat with Jubilee. Jubilee actually gets to have what I feel is a pretty baller moment. She gets to prove that she is 100% that bitch, and I think that's a great thing. Like, me personally, I always knew that. I won't say I always knew that, you know, because there was a time when I was a kid I wasn't overly fond of Jubilee, but like as I got older and really understood exactly how her powers work and kind of seeing her grow, her personality develop over the years, I was like, dude, you know what? I actually really like Jubilee as a character. It was something that, well, yeah, as a teenager, didn't really care for her very much. When I got into like my 20s, I was like, okay, I get it now. And as I've gotten even older, I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, Jubilee stand here. Give me the Jubilee sunglasses. I'll put them on. I like that we get to see her show up and show out. For instance, in a case with a character that I honestly wasn't sure we were going to be revisiting anytime soon. There's a character that showed up in the free comic book day Uncanny X-Men, like From the Ashes issue, named Uva. She was a waitress. She's the one that you probably saw in a lot of the promotional art, where she's throwing the Midnight M, and Jubilee's throwing it right back. And for those that don't know, I've talked about this before, but the Midnight M is a symbol. It can mean a lot of things. The Midnight M is basically a way for people to quietly say, hey, I'm a mutant, or if you, or like, I'm a mutant, or are you a mutant, or if you are a mutant, you're safe with me, or I am a mutant, I need help. There's a lot of different applications to it. It's basically a play on the universal sign for distress, specifically for women in situations where they may be harmed in some way by their partner, more specifically a male partner. But yeah, it's just a little silent way to just kind of be like, hey, sums up. And I thought, honestly, the beginning and the end of that whole interaction, I thought that was it. And it's not. We see that character come back up. It's partially why Deadpool is in this issue to a degree. Not really for probably the reasons people might think, which is fine. I mean, yeah, a Deadpool and Outlaw show up. That part's cool. It's fun. There's nothing really to take out of that, that I really want to spend time breaking down, outside of the fact that it seems very clear Gail Simone's, which I don't think I've ever looked up Gail's opinions on the New Mutants film, but she puts him in this issue. If you, for whatever reason, if you don't follow Gail, or you just, like myself, you just didn't know around that time frame, she makes it pretty clear she doesn't like the New Mutants movie at all. And I'm here for it. But no, Jubilee gets to go back to that diner where Uva works, and she gets to save someone who, and I don't know how this is going to play out, but Jubilee coming in, putting respect on her name, proving that her powers are more than just firecrackers and plasmoids. Like, there's a lot more to her power. I would actually say, too, if you've never read the recent Exterminators comic that came up during the Krakoan era, Jubilee proves in that issue that she's a badass. I highly recommend, if you've never read Exterminators, go read it. Jubilee shows her whole ass in that comic. Literally and figuratively, because she uses her powers to such a devastating level. She quite literally destroys not only the clothes on her body, but also every single stitch of hair on her body. That's how powerful she can be with those plasmoids. But yeah, what I'm more curious about is, what's next for Uva? Like, because there's a point where, when we see before, Uva does acknowledge that she's a mutant, but there's a point where someone else is talking to her, like, and maybe she probably peeped game that it was Dr. Karina Ellis, maybe. Maybe she peeped game, realized, oh, this is gray malkin folks, let me not talk up. She kind of tries to play down that she's not a mutant, but very obviously she is a mutant. I wonder if we're gonna see more of Uva. I would like to see more of Uva. I think that with the Outliers being who they are, now being officially part of the X-Men, Death Dream, Ransom, Calico, and Jitter, I wouldn't mind seeing another character added to the pack. I think Uva would be a nice addition to that. And she also has a really cool, striking look. I feel like that's a, I don't know. We'd have to see. But yeah, that's really, for me, a lot of good stuff happening in this issue. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop with Uncanny Village. There is something not right about this. And while, yes, I know some people can say, well, what about San Francisco? Yes, San Francisco, how well did that go? I mean, it started out, I guess, decent enough during the Matt Fraction run. Some of you may remember back like 2008, 2009, the X-Men moved to San Francisco, and that was where they made their home, to the point where they ended up having, I think, what was left of Asteroid M, and made that utopia off the coast of California in the San Francisco Bay Area, basically. There was that, and that ran from, I think that was 8 or 9 years. That was like 2009, so like, I think Utopia was destroyed during Secret Empire in 2017, so I mean, that had a pretty decent run. I think, yeah. As much as you can. But yeah, so I mean, it feels like this might be Utopia 2.0. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know where Gail's going with it. But if the commentary is what I think it is, and I think it is, I think that this is Gail kind of making a commentary about what diversity, equity, and inclusion look like when it's made by people who have more privilege than everybody else, and they're included in everything already. I don't know. Prove me wrong.